Hi there, my name is John Stevens, pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA. And welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary text and we tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree. This is for the narrative lectionary, and if you are focusing on All Saints Sunday, take a look at the video above, where for the Revised Common Lectionary, I talk about the gospel lesson just briefly, but mostly about the word all and what does it mean, all saints. So take a look at that if you want to go that direction. The First Kings text for the narrative lectionary about Elijah going out and finding God, or God finding Elijah in the still small voice, that presence, and that's the focus. That's the direction I go. And so the item I'm using is a hand clapper. I've used this a couple of times in the children's sermons, and I don't know if I've used it in the narrative lectionary as of yet, and I might have, but I like this focus, especially in this text, that we find God in the silence, we find God in the pauses, we find God in the rest. That in this crazy world sometimes, this noisy world, that there's always stuff happening. There's always things happening, and I'm as guilty as everybody else, that there's always something drawing our attention. And so this idea of taking a pause, taking a rest, taking a moment, a time out, if you will. We always think time out is a bad thing. I'm in trouble, so I got a time out. Well, perhaps I need a time out just to collect myself. And so this idea of the still small voice. So I talk about that, about how it's important, and I want to show an example. And so I have this hand clapper, and you can some churches will have a box of music instruments like tambourines and kazoos and recorders and things like that. If you have that, great. Give them out to some of the kids. You can get a couple of hand clappers, or you can have the congregation take part, or you can have the congregation take part. The idea is that you're going to get people to make a lot of noise and then go silent. So it'd be like they start making noise and then it goes silent. You're going to orchestrate it to where it's like, when I do this, you're going to go silent. And it is amazing because you do it once or maybe three times, but the idea is that you do it once and then you stop. And you and the kids can feel something different. That in that silence, out of all that noise, and all of a sudden the silence, there is something palpable. There's something tactile. You can tell it's there, and then you can point out. Do you feel that to the kids? Do you feel that the power of being quiet, the power of paying attention to the silence and the in-between times? That sometimes when someone's quiet, they say more than 1,000 words, if you will. But paying attention to that. I'm reminded, and this is not something to put in the children's sermon. You can if you want, if your kids watch. If your kids have been watching movies forever, which they're kids, so they haven't. But two Star Trek movies ago, I think it was the first prequel Star Trek, where you get I think it's just Star Trek, but I have to go back to see what the subtitle is. But at the very beginning, of course there's a fight scene, but at the very beginning, there is the Enterprise is being destroyed. I don't even know if it's the Enterprise. I've got to go back and get my ships. I've got friends that will be taking me to the carpet for this one. But where I'm thinking about is that in this, there's this play. The director makes a decision to play noise and fighting and fire and explosions with the silence of space. So it goes back and forth where there's all this stuff happening, this explosions, things are happening as they're getting ready to jettison off in the escape pods, and then it goes to the space, and there's silence. And the use of that silence is absolutely amazing. It hits you, and it's a great choice. But that use between of sound and silence, something meets us, and we know that as we're reading the text in Kings, that it's God that meets us in the silence. So I hope these can be a springboard for your own children's sermon, your own thinking. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a fantastic week.